All right. So I was very sick a few weeks ago, and I had a high fever and no insurance, so I just wanted to ride it out. And I was in my bed, and I was having somewhat of a nightmare, but I think I was awake, so it was more of a hallucination. And I imagined that my mind was just a series of knots that had different connections to each other. Um, Knots of all sorts of things. Anyway, but I think that this was a revelation of the mind. So, as an example, let's talk about the color magenta. So, magenta doesn't exist. If you look at the spectrum from red to purple, all the colors you know are in between, except for magenta. There's no magenta. But because our brain needs everything to be contained within itself, if it's going to include it, takes those two ends and folds it around, and we get a color circle with magenta being this glue in between. But the magenta glue is our hallucination when we see red and when we see purple wavelengths coming into our eyes, we go magenta. But that's not a real color. There's no magenta wavelength. It is fake. Anyway, so it's not a color. I mean, it's more like brown than it is like anything else. But we put it into the wheel because our brain has bent the real information into something else for us to understand it. And I think that this hallucination helped me understand this about everything. So your language, your idea about whatever is you taking reality, what you know, and making it fit together. So there's parts of reality that just you don't know. They're gone. They're not anything you can know, or maybe you could, but the time is gone, or the ability to know is no longer around, or you weren't even paying attention to a certain thing. But your brain is incredible because it just kind of makes up for the lacking parts, and you get a concise knot of information that you think of as being reality, but could have huge missing parts when compared to reality. But your brain is such a good job. It's not like a computer. Like a computer, if there's an error, if you have information and a missing part, it'll shut down. But animals that would shut down if they had an issue wouldn't be very successful at all. So through evolution, we are able to take errors and imagine them as being real things because our brain wants us to constantly believe that we are aware of things around us, which explains like when you get tunnel vision when you're older, like your eyes aren't working. It's not like you see blackness and then whoop, it's you see this. Or colorblind people, right? It's not like they like are looking and all of a sudden there's just no information where the orange is supposed to be. No, their brain knits it together into a understandable thing, and people who see all the colors that humans typically see find it very odd that that's the case. So our brains are incredibly good at putting together things that don't necessarily match, or they're just really efficient at taking information and putting it together. So that's all I'm saying, and that came through hallucination when I was really sick in bed, and you can too. Okay, bye.